What's up guys, Cedo cards with another video. So today I want to touch on Origins. So of course I've done a bunch of videos lately. I do a lot of sealed. I cover sort of, the high end, the mid to high end, but I want to take a return back to Origins. Of course we have Radiance on the horizon. We've got about a week before the T1 cards boxes start to hit the market. So I do want us to return back to Origins. And as usual guys, just before we get into it, really appreciate the support. I really appreciate the comments for my newborn as well. That was really sweet. I didn't expect that much. That was really sweet. If you're new here, what's up? My name is Cedo. I like to cover the collector space, and particularly the translation of the depth of attachment we have to League of Legends champions and characters, and how that shows itself in the TCG in terms of its price point, in terms of the demand for particular cards, and kind of having a conversation around that. I mean, many of us have been in the space for over a decade, and it's nice to be able to enjoy League of Legends in another format, especially when, for example, I stopped playing about almost 4 years ago now. But I'm still watching League of Legends every day. Maybe LCK. I'm still watching TFT. So it's nice to enjoy the game in another format. And I mean, the Riot Games has found me spending thousands on this. This is crazy. I've spent a lot of money on this. But look, they've got me. They've got me. So here I am. Anyway, today we're having a look at Origins, and look, Origins still remains exceptionally strong. I mean, again, kudos to Riot Games for producing such a phenomenal introduction into a TCG. I mean, this is just phenomenal. Demand remains at an all-time high, and what you'll find in a number of these champions is that there is literally no supply on the market. There are, for the signature cards, there are like none out. Some of these haven't seen sales in like a week or so, week and a bit, 2 weeks, because there's literally none on the market. No one's trying to sell. No one wants to sell. Look, if I manage to pull a signature card from Origins, no one, I'm not selling. No one's getting my card, because there's just so few on the market, and it's so exciting to get one of these. And again, they've done a phenomenal job in introducing, League of Legends to this space. We're about 2.5 minutes in. We can at least start. But, looking at Ahri, again, we see a sale here Monday 17th. I could not find any in the last few days or so, last week and a bit. But we see recently, almost 4K in dollars, just under 3K in pounds. And I mean, this remains one of the most sought out after cards. And again, did a phenomenal job in introducing Ahri into the space. And of course, we've now seen an abundance of Ahri cards, but they've done a fantastic job in bringing Ahri as a champion from League of Legends, not only into the space, but really done a fantastic job in showcasing the mystery that is Ahri. And this is her very first card showing, to people that are new to League of Legends, people that are new to, the TCG space, and they've shown Ahri in this light, mystery, threat. You can tell there is, that more mature allure as well. There's a lot to it, so it makes you wonder, what is Ahri, who is Ahri? And then you see the demand in her price and her cards, and we have seen a drop in its price. I mean, this hit $13,000 at its all-time high at start of this month, because of course we had the T1 build up, and that was crazy. Things have taken a bit of a pullback, which is fine. This TCG is way too young to be having cards at $13,000, $14,000, but it is happening, and it's League of Legends, so it's understandable. We have this selling at 8,600, 8,700. Again, a few days ago, about a week ago, crazy numbers. But this is honestly, they've done a fantastic job in the pull rate. It is really hard to pull these items. Some get lucky. Someone in the UK Discord just pulled two signatures as a recent from their unleashed boxes, but it's generally very hard to get these. They've done a phenomenal job in the pull rate. It's always exciting to see one in the market. It's exciting to pull them, and yeah, that's why we see the demand and the price point in these for a lot of the really sought out after champions. Her non-sign, again, very much heavy demand. She is the anomaly, similar to Kaisa as well in this space. We're looking at $400, and then her PSA 10 for that is about $1,000. So again, Ahri as a champion in Origins is just doing phenomenal, and really kudos to Riot Games, the Riftbound team, for introducing Ahri in such. They couldn't have done a better job at introducing Ahri to the TCG. Out the gate, there's so much mystery around this. You want to learn more about Ahri, you want to understand more about her champion design, her lore, especially if you're new to League of Legends and you're entering by virtue of the TCG. you are then interested in going into the lore of these champions, and then you end up finding yourself, you know, down the rabbit hole and trying to figure out all things Ahri, and then same thing with other champions, all things League of Legends. So we have then Viktor. So this isn't exactly based on price wise. I'm kind of going. It kind of is, as you can see. It's Viktor and Kaisa, who's also, you know, the more or less the number one. I'm kind of throwing a bunch in because I tend to never get to talk about Viktor because he's usually on the lower end of prices. But man, Viktor, this card is one of the most gorgeous cards in the TCG. I'll be honest. I have this card in non-sign. I pulled it maybe last stream that I did. This card is phenomenal. Now, of course, it isn't the old school Viktor that we know. I always say it's not Machine Herald. It's not, you know, just absolutely crazy madman. But it is still nonetheless a phenomenal art. Very gorgeous. Of course, Arcane was a fantastic show. Season 1 and Season 2 were both brilliant. And they've done a very good job, you know, in doing this visual upgrade for Viktor. And we see here about basically $1,000. We see here £850, give or take. That was on the 18th. And we see one a few days later, about $1K. So again, it's quite hard. We're not seeing much sales as of recent. No one's selling, and there's no reason to. You know, this is a card to hold on to and to collect. And we do see his PSA 10 on the lower end. It has dipped a bit to $2K. At the peak, it was around $3K. And again, if Viktor is an old school champion, he's very loved. But of course, this is a more recent rendition. We hope that I hope in Legacy, they do pay homage to this version of Viktor, and I'm sure that overnumbered will do crazy numbers. I think that'd be fantastic. The non-signed, $125. It's a great pickup. I've been on a one second. So I've been on a buying spree for the overnumbered. Like, the thing is, they're so gorgeous, and you know, I'm not too picky. Like I'm happily buying these at the, you know, non-graded one because I like the art, and ultimately I want the art. I want to see the cards on my desk. I don't need to buy the signed version of that to have the cards on my desk. So I'm buying a bunch of these, and look, these are great prices. You know, we're seeing here $125 for this. I mean, I'm just right now, I'm really on a buying spree in terms of all these. I bought Volibear and Jax just arrived. Morgana, of course, my personal chase, arrived a few days ago as well. I'm really just enjoying the League of Legends space, and we're seeing, you know, $125 for me. It was like maybe, I don't know, 60, like £70 in the UK, maybe more. I can't record. And PSA 10, $355. So again, if you want to pick up the graded version, I've yet to pick up a graded card. Maybe one day, but for now I'm just collecting the non-signs, and I may just send some for grading myself. I'm just on a these are really gorgeous artworks. I'm really enjoying these. So we have then Kaisa. Now Kaisa continues to surprise me. I didn't realize Kaisa was so loved as she is. You know, I'm not an ADC player. I was mid, jungle. Honestly, I was mid. I was everything except against ADC, because look, I'm not crippling my wrists. You know, I'm 31 now. If I was playing ADC, I would have had crippled wrists. You know, they were bad enough already as is playing League of Legends. But no, I'm not doing that. But Kaisa, I don't like. She's a fantastic champion. I've always enjoyed her kit. I've enjoyed her abilities. You know, her playstyle. I've never understood the love, but I'm not like I'm surprised, but at the same time not surprised in a sense. But she stays the most highest, you know, price point. We've not seen any sales for a long time. We can see here 7,800, 6,300. It is a climb up, but there's just nothing on the market. It's hard to tell. There's really nothing on the market. So I don't know where she sits at the moment. So we can only assess when she comes back. And again, you know, Kaisa is a phenomenal champion. Make no mistake. She has amazing skins as well. We have this Dark Star, and I said it before, I can't wait. I do hope they do more mini sets like they did with the Crystal Rose in Vendetta. Hopefully they can do the Dark Star with this Jin. There's Jarvan. There's so much potential. But there's other cards. I mean other skins. KDA is on its way. You know, they're now rolling out KDA skins again. You know, set 19 for TFT is going to be music inspired. Kaisa KDA is a phenomenal art, very gorgeous card, very pretty art. Sorry, not card, pretty design. We have Lagoon Dragon. I've not seen this personally. I've never seen this splash myself. I think I just missed it. Maybe I wasn't paying attention when it came out. But gorgeous art as well. And then we have, of course, Star Guardian, very cute. Kaisa is loved. Kaisa is a great champion, and her demand is absolutely through the roof. She's the most expensive card at the moment. We see here, and again, a pullback as well. She was around 13 or highest in Origins. So she was the, she had $13,000 a sell as of recent. Of course, we have had a pullback. We're looking at just under 9,000 now, which is still very crazy. And as you can see, there are like none in PSA. Yes, we should see more and more slowly enter into the PSA space, but again, these are so hard to pull. I can't imagine there are 2,000 of these tops out there, 2,000 Kaisas out there tops. I can't imagine there are much of these at all. Such hard pull rates. They've done a fantastic job in making it a rarity. We then have here, for example, the tag. This is a few days ago. This is tag. Basically 986. It's almost like a black label. It's basically black label. Just kind of not as in demand. It's basically pristine. So this does have a premium. So this sold for 12.2k. And then we have for her non-signed version, again similar to Ahri, she is in demand. We're looking at $325 here. And then we have a black label sale of that same non-signed overnumbered for 12.7k. There is a lot of demand for this champion, and it makes sense. I was trying to buy one. I bought one on eBay. I had to apologize to the seller. It was an American seller. Had to then cancel because there was one in the UK that could come quicker. So again, a fantastic card. And then we do see the, and I hate to be the guy that cancels as well. I apologize to them straight away. I said, look, my bad. I was looking around for a while. I couldn't see any in the UK. And then after that, I went to Card Market and I could see some. So I apologize to them. And, I said, my bad. But we see here, PSA 10, $1,000 for that as well. So again, in healthy demand. Kaisa, it's just a fantastic artwork. And kudos to her whoever drew her. Kudos to Jason. Fantastic work. And then again, like Darius, because he's on the cheaper end, I rarely get to cover him, but I'm kind of bouncing around in terms of price points. He is on the cheaper end. He did, he's about $645 we see here. And then in pounds wise, there was another sale, again, £475, again, similar price point, $645. It's an odd card. I will probably pick up the non-signed because it's very cheap. But, we're looking at $650, not much to it. Is this Darius? Is this slam dunk? No. It's a shame because I feel like this has now created like a baseline for his price point. Anything in the future, he's just sold at a very low point because his introduction to the TCG was such compared to Ahri, for example, who's just, gorgeous introduction. We have Darius, who's kind of, it's a shame. But we do see the PSA 10, again, on the lower end as well, about 1.5k. Sorry, BGS 10, just under 1.5k. And similar to the PSA 10 as well, both in the last few days or so. So again, the demand isn't as excessive, but again, Darius is a dope champion. And at least if you're a Darius collector, you can buy this on cheap. And I'll be picking up this Darius card, the non-signed overnumbered, very soon. And that's the thing. I think we're finding people people are finding their pockets of, what am I going to collect? How am I going to collect it? For me, it's buying the overnumbers, the non-signed. They're really cheap right now. There's going to be others who have more money on hand that they can spend, who's going to buy all the signature cards and buy every Origin signature card and hold on to it. And then there's going to be someone who has all of them in PSA 10 or BGS 10. So that's just me right now. I want the card. I don't need it in its signed version. And then the PSA 10 of this card, about $420, but it has been almost a month since the last sale. There aren't many sales of Darius because, again, he isn't as in demand. So, where we have a space now where, League of Legends, Riftbound is in such demand, people are flipping and this and that. And you're going to have League players also flipping. They're going to be part of that culture too. We're not really seeing that with Darius at the moment. And then we have Tito or Teemo, 2.3k. This was, almost 2 weeks ago, but he has remained quite steady in demand, to be honest. Teemo, we see here is PSA 10, about 5k, pretty much, kind of maintaining that high price point. He hasn't really dipped that much compared to others. We do see about a week ago as well, about 8 days ago, about 4.5k. So he is really climbing again, in my opinion. And we are seeing some champions start to climb again. We did have that dip, but we're seeing things return. But I'd say hold off for now because the T1 cards are coming out very soon, and we're probably going to see a dip again as people start to sell their cards to fund buying all things T1. So just heed, you know, just relax and just hold out for a bit, and you'll be right. And looking at this, you know, Saturday 13th of June, this Teemo card was 1.6k in dollars, and it's now sitting at 5k. So crazy things happening, man. And then just looking at his non-signed over number, I actually pulled this, but then I sold it like really cheap, $200, and then PSA 10, $610 about a week ago. So doing just fine. And then we have Misfortune, again one of the high ends. She's what, top 3 with Ahri, Kaisa, Misfortune. Gorgeous card, as you saw. I bought this as well. Beautiful card, gorgeous card. Again, you know, sales, we're just not seeing any on the market. No one's selling, and I don't blame them. Like, if I manage to pull a signature card, 1, I'm not selling. 2, I'm probably gonna grade it so it's in pristine condition, as in there's no risk of it being bent, for example, or anything crazy. I know, of course, keep it in a binder, but for example, it's just so risky. I'd keep it in a top loader binder, for example, but it's still so risky. But we see here sales, you know, we see one for 3k, one for 2.2k. There are just so few in the market, we just can't really assess it at the moment. But her demand in PSA 10 is still very high. You know, yes, she did hit a high of 7k in the frenzy. But what we see here yesterday, she sold for 6.5 best offer. It was 6k in the end, if you see here, using eBay research in this second row. So again, she remains high in demand, and we do see here as well 5.5k yesterday in bid as well. So very much still in demand, and phenomenal card. Honestly, I really appreciate what they've done with this. And you know, this I would imagine it's a Mindy Kang. I would imagine she is an in-house league artist, so I really appreciate how they've drawn her. You know, we see her with her alt and her Q. You know, we don't see as, and her E, we don't see as much in terms of her character. So very cool to see that. And then we see her non-signed, $251, about £108. Definitely in the UK it is a bit cheaper. Maybe it has increased in price now. In the last 2 weeks I bought her, maybe 3 weeks now. But bought her around £100, £120 or so. So a bit cheaper, but a bit more expensive now. And we see here PSA 10, $425. So again, still in that range that is pretty affordable. And you know, one I recommend anyone pick up if they are a slab collector as well. And then my boy Yasuo, like, I'm still surprised by how affordable Yasuo is. Cheap at the moment. For it's just crazy. I still expect him to have a run up at some point. We see here this sold for 1.7k just a few days ago using eBay research. It wasn't showing up on 130 sales as well. And we see here PSA BGS 10, 3.4k, again on the cheaper end in terms of his age mates. You know, his mates Ahri, Kaisa, you know, all these OGs. I mean, Kaisa isn't OG, but you know, all the, and Viktor, Yasuo came out in 2013. It's pretty OG, you know. But Ahri, all his mates in Origins, you know, he's on the cheaper end, but regardless, phenomenal card. 3.3k here as well. PSA 10 as well. PSA 10. This is just a stunning card, man. I have this in non-signed. It's here $96, a recent sale, and we're looking at $500 for the PSA 10 as well for this. This is such a dope card, and I'm still surprised by its price point. But look, it just means that if I do start collecting the signs one day, it's at a cheaper point for me. But again, it's pretty much out of my range at the moment. And then we see Jinx. Now Jinx, again, we've not seen many sales for Jinx. We do see here as well on the 14th about 3k in dollars, but we just don't see any. We don't see any at the moment. Maybe she's pulled back a bit, but we are seeing about 4.2k in PSA 10 at the moment, about a week ago. So again, the demand is still high. Yes, it's not Misfortune, Kaisa, and Ahri, but it is still high. And we even saw a sell a bit before that, 5.5k. So there is still demand for Jinx, and we see now one 5.6k. So there is demand for Jinx. Definitely a pullback. We see 7.2k was her all-time high, you know, August 17th, before things started to pull back quite quickly. I mean, this was a crazy high, $7,200 for this card, and it's not been like, it's not been Jinx. It's more like, it's more arcane Jinx, but you know, 7.2k is crazy. Sorry, we even saw this one, 7.5k. Sorry, I forgot this tab. Crazy stuff. And her non-sign, I've yet to buy this. It is on the pricier end, $230. Probably a bit cheap in US, 320 in Australian, probably a bit cheaper in the UK as well, but I've yet to buy it. And we see $600 for this card in a PSA 10, the non-signed. And then moving on to the last four, we have Sett, Sin, Leona, and Volibear. Sett, I still don't understand honestly, I still don't understand his fan base. Cool champion. Is he a furry? I don't think he's a furry. I'm not sure. But we see him at around $800 as of the last few days, 25th, by $825. And PSA 10 is on a cheaper end, probably one of the cheapest in this space, about 1.775. Again, not that many at PSA at the moment, because again, it isn't the most exciting card to send off to PSA. We have seen other sales as well. We see one for 2K as well. So this was sold yesterday at 1.775. This was sold about a week ago at 2K, so a bit of a dip. But regardless, if you're a Sett collector, you've got an abundance of cards so far for him, so it's nothing too crazy. And then $75 for the non-signed version. Again, a good price, pretty cheap to just collect and pick up. And then $220 for the PSA 10. And then closing out with Sin, Leona and Volibear, we have Sin at 2K in dollars. Sin, Leona and Volibear. Again, we see here as well a sale about 1.9K. This was a while ago, but we do see a sale more recent in the last few days for 2K. So he has been pretty consistent in this price, and he has gone down from his peak. I believe I've showed it here of around 6K. We see here start of the month with all the frenzy. He is down to just under 4K at the moment, $3,850, and we do see as well a sale before that as well. 4,650. But in the last few days, he has dipped a bit more, but that's more than fine. I mean, look, Sin is such a phenomenal champion. This is a phenomenal piece of art, and make no mistake, this is going to bounce back like crazy. This artwork is so fantastic, and again, a fantastic job in terms of introducing Sin as a champion into the TCG. And the non-sign, we see $140. Great pickup. I'll pick this up at some point. I think my first set of things to collect is all things Origins. Collect all of that, then move to Spirit Forged, and then or maybe Spirit Forged, maybe Vendetta. I might go Vendetta next because it's going to be cheaper. I'll see. Or maybe I think I go Spirit Forged because it's not going to get cheaper than this, to be honest. We have then the Sin PSA 10 about 560, so nothing too crazy. Well, not too. This is just a great price. This is expensive, and fantastic work. If you're a slab collector, then of course pick this up. If you're looking to grade them yourself, then of course feel free to hold out on that. And then Leona, again, one of the most phenomenal arts in the TCG so far. Very gorgeous card in person as well. Again, not many sales. We do see one just over 1,000 about a week and a bit ago. We do see here a sale 22nd as well, about 1.2K, 1.23 in dollars. This was 1.5 Canadian best offer, which is about $1,000 as well. So she's pretty consistent. And we do see her PSA 10 for about 2.475K. And again, we've discussed it many times. Support champions tend to be on the lower end in terms of the price point, just a virtue of that depth of connection you have, depth of attachment you have as a support player, in terms of the outplays and the ability to really, have those crazy 1v1s and your contributions in the team fight. And so this is a fantastic price point. This is definitely, regardless, a still phenomenal price point for Leona. And again, a good pickup if you are a slab collector, I'll be so honest. Non-graded, again, remains very affordable, $100 at the moment, or 150 Canadian, and in the UK, I think maybe 60, 70 pounds, so a good price. We see other sales as well. We see one here for just $80 as well. So again, fluctuating price points, but again, a healthy pickup at the moment. And again, the signed, but this could be the very first, not the non-signed, this could be my very first slab. Looking at $345, very cheap. So not cheap, but in terms of slabs, quite affordable. So could be one I pick up for my first slab. And then closing out on Volibear, the OG. It just arrived today. You might have saw when I showed just earlier. He's non-signed. Looking at $800 for his signed version. Again, he is an OG, but he's not in meta. He's not really played as much. His rework is fantastic, but it's just not the most exciting. You're playing a giant bear. It's not like a very attractive character, physically attractive. So he has a space, but regardless, he's an OG, and we're looking at $800. PSA 10, 2.5K, very solid in my opinion for Volibear, for someone who really isn't meta and doesn't really see much light as well. And then we do see another sale as well, 2.2k as well, a few days after. So on the cheaper end in terms of his PSA and in terms of his graded price compared to all his other mates. And then $90 for his non-sign. I believe I paid maybe £60, so not too far off in that conversion. And then we're looking at $255 for the PSA 10 for this. So that's a roundup with Origins, and again, phenomenal space, really fantastic space. They're doing such a good job with Origins. You know, the restocks have hit, they're hardly a drop in the water, man. It's gonna be like, honestly, the price points we're seeing now is its baseline, of course, excluding the dip we might see with T1, the kind of demand and the fervor around this, and you know, fever, you know, what we're seeing around this is what we should expect moving forward, and to only pick up as, you know, these become more and more scarce, So yeah, it's crazy times, honestly. But let me know your thoughts. So I do my plan is to make the video on Project K next. That's my next video I want to make, and then I'll probably have another sealed conversation in that space. Then I'll go for maybe Spirit Forge, and then probably have a conversation about metals and promos. And then kind of I want to go through Unleashed and then Vendetta, and probably by then the T1 boxes are out as well. So I'll be discussing that also. So I've got an itinerary on the horizon, so a lot to do, a lot to cover. Do bear with me, of course, with the baby. I'm probably uploading once every 2-3 days. Probably won't be every day anymore. There's just very little time at the moment. But yeah, you know, let me know your thoughts. As usual, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you soon. Thanks. See the cards out.